All right, we spent a bit of time today talking about that very troubling situation at a school in St. Marthe-sur-le-Lac. We're not going to play this again. I think we've done it enough times. This is basically a teacher losing it in front of a class of 6 and 7-year-olds, a grade 1 class, yelling, screaming at these kids. And this was recorded over several days, not just one day, someone having a bad day.
That's the
Worth pointing
crucial
that out,
part of
right?
it. Yeah, it happened dozens of times each of the days that it was recorded. And again, it was a parent that slipped a recording device into their child's knapsack because the child had been complaining at home of how they were being treated in the classroom. Again, we're talking about 6 and 7-year-olds in grade 1, a teacher who repeatedly screamed, yelled, berated them. And I think you can't call it anything other than abuse.
So when we asked you to sort of weigh in on this, we took a variety of phone calls, but a couple of things that came up here, and I think they bear repeating before we get to our guest. The fact that a lot of people pointed out the fact that while the principal has been suspended, we don't know that any other teachers in the school were. And people bring up, we had a couple of teachers actually call us and say there is no way that other teachers in the school could not have heard what was going on in this classroom. And to some degree, if that's what we eventually find out, there's some guilt to bear there as well for having done, we don't know, for having done or said nothing. So that's important to point out.
Teacher and principal both suspended with pay, as far as we know, and now criminal charges against the teacher pending.
Liberal MNA MARWAH RIZQY, aware of this, of course, heard what the Premier had to say about it yesterday. By the way, it might be worth, again, listening to Premier Legault, who, when made aware of this, didn't kind of just slough it off. He said it was serious. He said this.
I cannot imagine a teacher yelling like that with children of 6 years old. It's totally unacceptable. So I am happy that this person has been suspended. There will be an inquiry, and I want to make sure that nobody knew in the school about what was happening, because it's totally unacceptable.
I think we can all agree on that.
They knew.
Seems someone must have. MARWAH RIZQY, as I said, Quebec Liberal MNA, and the critic in this particular case. So, MARWAH, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, and also thank you to take the time to talk about this important topic.
Well, let's talk about it again from the perspective of, you heard the Premier trying to deal with it, saying there would be an inquiry. What was your initial thought when you heard this?
Well, as soon as I heard the yelling and the way that she was talking to the kids, I said, this is verbal abuse. And we need right away to suspend the teacher, and we need to launch an investigation to know exactly what happened, who knew, who didn't take any action. And also I asked to send a psychologist at the school, because we have to keep in mind we're talking about 6-year-old kids. This is the first year for them in school. And they're probably traumatized with everything that happened. And I have to tell you that as soon that I spoke about the issue, I did receive multiple emails from teachers from that school, and said to me that they actually raised their hand and they actually told the principal about the situation, but nothing has been done so far. And then I did receive a very important email with evidence that not only the principal of the school knew about the verbal abuse, but he also knew about allegedly physical abuse. And in the email of the principal, he says that the lawyer of the Centre de Services Scolaires, who's also the assistant general manager of the Centre de Services Scolaires, is aware of the situation, and the HR, the human resource of the Centre de Services Scolaires, are also aware of both verbal abuse and physical abuse. So today I really ask again, and I give the evidence to Minister of the Education, Bernard Drinville. I give him the evidence, and I ask him again, you need to make sure to cut down the investigation of the Centre de Services Scolaires des Mérites. They're not going to investigate themselves. We need to have a different investigation from the Minister of Education. We need to send people on site and to make sure that we do receive every testimony. And if the lawyer of the Centre de Services Scolaires knew about the situation since February, she has to be fired, because she didn't take this she didn't take the issue, and the teacher is still there, and she may be abused during multiple months. So we need to make sure that everyone who knew about the situation and didn't take action, and I have to say, in Quebec, if the integrity of a kid, the physical and mental integrity of a kid is compromised, every adult must take action.
How did the education minister respond?
He said, "Thank you, Marwa." And I have to say, at least on 3 points, he did something. Right away, the teacher was suspended, and then the principal was suspended. And he also did send the psychologist team on site at the school to make sure that the kids were at least offered some help, some counseling. But let's be honest here. They're going to need probably help, like not only for a few days. They're probably going to need help maybe for the next month. And I think if there's any fees for the parents, they should keep the receipt of the fees for the professional help and send it to the Minister of Education. They have to pay for that.
So I want to ask, you mentioned you heard almost immediately from some teachers in the school saying they were aware, they'd made people in the school aware, HR aware. Had you heard from parents as well, other parents?
Absolutely. Parents who wrote me that their kids in other classrooms heard the teacher yelling. And that did not happen only on a few days. It did happen multiple times. Mm-hmm. And it was actually over 2 years. So far, that's the evidence I did receive. Excuse me, not the evidence, but the emails I did receive. The only evidence of physical and verbal abuse, I only have one case with strong evidence, but I do have testimony of parents saying that their kids, when they came back home, they actually said, yes, I can hear her, and she was yelling all the time.
I'm just gobsmacked. I don't know how this was allowed to continue, and it makes me think about, we've been hearing about the sexual assault claims that went unanswered and weren't handled properly by the school boards in the townships. So, I mean, there's a problem here. It seems to me the system has failed, whether it be those service centers on the French side or the school boards on the English side. There's a fundamental problem here. Bernard Drinville, obviously fairly new on the job and has been under fire a lot lately. But I mean, should there be some accountability there? Marwa, this happened on his watch.
Absolutely. And I have to remind him, but the Centre de Services Scolaires, this is a creature of the CAC. Mm-hmm. And we told them, right now the parents, they don't have anywhere to actually raise their hand. They don't have any more elected official at their level. The other day, he told me in chamber, I don't understand why you always bring all the problems in school at the chamber here during the question period. But guess what? The parents, they only have my voice, and through me, I can raise the question in chambers and try to have some action taken. But we don't have any representation in the French system. You guys in the English system, you still have elected officials, but we don't have any in the French system. And today, I don't know if you heard the other recording when we hear a teacher in high school saying to a student, well, when you're going to be 25 years old, your face is going to look like the butt of my dog, and you're going to be on the bien-être social. Who says that? This is another, so people I can contextualize it a bit. This is another case that has been brought forward today, and there are audio recordings of that as well. So something's just gone terribly wrong. In terms of the teachers themselves, this incident in Saint-Martin-le-Lac, she's been suspended with pay, as we mentioned, so has the principal. Clearly needs some counseling, some anger management, but I can't imagine under any circumstances that it would ever be okay for her to teach again. What are your thoughts on that? Well, based on what I do have so far, and based on the testimony, and if it's true at the end, after we conclude the investigation, if it's true that it's been years, I think we should apply Section 26 of the law, which says when a teacher did something very, very, what we call a faute lourde, we can revoke her permit of exercise. So she will be banned forever to teach again.
Wow. Not the kind of thing you want to be able to or have to talk about, but this is very much a developing story. It's going to take a while for this inquiry to determine anything, but at least we know there are eyes on it. And if it turns out, Marwa, as you said, that it's not a matter of days or even weeks, but this has been systemic, been going on for years. This is a much, much bigger problem than I think anyone might have imagined.
If I may add something, why is it so important for us to act quickly? Is because 90% of the teachers are very extraordinary. They're dedicated to the kids.
Yes.
But if we keep the less than 1% that are not good, we're going to send a wrong message to the entire profession. And I want to say thank you to all the good teachers and make sure that we now get rid of the bad ones. because of them, we are tarnishing the image of education system, and we're tarnishing the profession of educator.
Well said.
I love that you said that.
Well said indeed.
Oh.
Marwa, thank you so much. Always appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Marwa RIZQY, Liberal M&A, on this situation, this, I don't call it a tragedy, whatever, that's happening at not one school, but then she just brought up this other
Another
situation
case
at a
that's
high
come
school.
forward,
So
yeah. I'm so glad she said
Yeah.
that. That's so needed to be said.
yeah.